Good afternoon, everybody. Anybody? As we're gonna really the exile harvest patch notes 3.11. Let's make this a bit bigger. The Harvest Challenge League. Challenge Leagues are great opponents. Start a new economy. Shabi. Harvest monsters, life force. We know this. Just the standard stuff. It's all self-found. 40 new challenges. For the 19th challenge, the pieces of totem poles. Major new content and features. Added new strength skill gem. General's Cry performs a war cry, taunting nearby enemies to attack the user. And summoning Mirage Warriors from nearby corpses. The Mirage Warriors each use a linked attack skill once before dissipating. Interesting. Added a new strength, Intimidating Cry performs a war cry, intimidating nearby enemies and taunting them to attack the user, as well as exerting the user's next two attacks. Grants a buff which reduces the effect of enemy armor against your hits, as well as exerting the next two attacks. So that'd be interesting. New strength, Seismic Cry performs a war cry, taunting nearby attacks. Makes 4 slam attacks, granting a buff which makes it easier to stun enemies. Ancestral Cry. Next 8 strike attacks. That's a buff which gives bonus to armor and melee range. New strength support gem, Urgent Orders support. Supports warcry skills, making them faster to use but lengthening their cooldowns. So is it like a faster casting? Add a new intelligence / skill gem. Penance Brand, which creates a magical brand attached to nearby enemies periodically, adding energy to the branded enemy. Each activation energy spreads, and energizing enemy to an enemy in range which is not energized by the brand. If the branded enemy has over 20, if they have 20 energy, each activation instead deals a pulse. Energy explodes when the enemy dies or the brand is removed. So it's like brand recall. If it hits 20, it explodes. If you recall, it explodes. New intelligence skill gem, Winter Tide brand. So it's like an ice brand. Creates a magical brand. Cold damage over time, and chilling them periodically activates, gaining stages to raise the damage. When removed, cold damage over time. Arcanist brand creates a magical text. It periodically activates. This creates a magical brand which can attach to a nearby enemy. It periodically activates while attached, triggering linked spells. The brand will detach if the enemy dies. That's interesting. Swift brand support. Okay, so it's a support, activate more frequently, but it reduces the duration. Add a new strength gem, Earthshaker, slam the ground, sending out shockwaves to damage enemies and end in spikes. These spikes are detonated by any slam attack or warcry. Nice. Strength support, Fist of War, supports slam attacks, ancestrally empowering the supported attack and improved damage in AoE. Reworked 3, Abyssal Cry, now called Infernal Cry, and Rallying Cry as Rallying Cry? And Rallying Cry? 1, 2, 3, okay. 14 unique items, rebalanced more than 50 unique items, added 12 new divination cards. Minor content. Alongside improvements made to the engine, we have changed post-processing, reducing the intensity of the new bloom. Nice. Disabling blur effects. We've improved how screen shake. I don't know anyone that plays with screen shake on, so this I don't know about that. 2 new rogue exiles. New labyrinth enchants. I guess there'll be Warcry enchants. Slam enchants. Improve the visual effective number of play and monster skills, including Earthquake, Firestorm, Ice Crash, Creeping Frost, previously Arctic Breath, Perforate, all Warcry skills, Incinerate, Arc, Getting Brand, also Lightning Warp. Oh, cool. Lightning Warp's been made to look cooler. Updated the frames on passive skill hovers to the ones created for Path of Exile 2. Daunted enemies now have a more visible effect. Improve the behavior of pets, playing the animations while deployed as hideout decoration. Updated the visual surge effect played when casting an elemental attack. Spells with a Stygian effect applied now produce a Stygian surge. Weapon skills from the portbacks can now be applied to both weapons or orb shooting. So you don't need to buy 2 skins. Added more music to the list. That's cool. Missing dialogue for Zana missions. Improved dragon fireballs, reducing flashing when they explode. And nice. Added an option to prevent other players from using your map device portals. Whoa, that's cool. Carpets in Solaris Temple tiles is now aligned with the doors. I didn't know they didn't. Honestly, once you go through the campaign, you never really go back there. Lots of tile stat, I suppose. So, yeah, I guess so. Improved how audio is handled for performance. Well, this is because when, like, I've noticed in some of the beast missions, when Ionar's talking, he gets drowned out by all the other sound effects. So there might be something in there. Continued to incrementally improve the sound. Delirium is now core. You have a greater chance of finding delirium encounters proportional to the number of rewards. Character balance. The Shakari card power no longer makes you immune to poison. No! Dude, I love that. That sucks. Damn. It now causes poison. It now causes poisons on you to have 50% less duration and prevents you from being poisoned when there are at least 5 poisons on you. Okay, so you still get poisoned. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Hexproof now acts like an immunity effect when granted, such as if you hit it will now remove any causes already prevented. Well, it already did that, didn't it? Dual wielding no longer grants 20% more physical attack. It still grants 10% more attack speed and 15% chance to block hits. The skill reworks. Greater support for Warcries has been added to the passive skill tree in the form of changed clusters and even a new keystone. Warcries no longer share a cooldown by default. All Warcries now have a all Warcries now have a base use time. Is that cast speed, I guess? No effects tend to linger for a greater duration. The base cooldowns are almost so longer. Each Warcry is enhanced by the proximity of enemies, and for some Warcries, allies, or corpses too. The proximity. This is measured as power. With normal enemy providing 1 power, magic enemies provide 2 power, rare enemies providing 10, unique enemies providing 10 power, and players providing 5. All Warcries also taunt enemies in range. Warcries now cause a certain number of attacks to become exerted, except in Enduring Cry. In General's Cry, however, the attacks done by General's Cry Mirage Warriors are exerted. Exerted attacks are enhanced in different ways depending on the Warcry. Your exerted attacks can benefit from the effects of multiple Warcries in the type of attack, if the type of attack is Infernal Cry now taunts enemies to attack the user and exerts next 4 melee attacks. It also covers enemies in ash, slowing them and making more vulnerable to fire damage. Causes enemies to explode when they die, dealing fire damage in an area. Well, that's... Didn't it used to be chaos and now it's kind of like fire Warcry now? Suited attacks trigger combust, which converts 60% of physical damage to fire. There is 100% attack damage in an area at gem level 1. So this is like it's like a conversion. Now has base duration of 5 damage. Explosions from slain enemies deal 5 damage to equal their life. Enemies covered in ash take increase per up to 20. Now gain 20% AoE. Rallying Cry now taunts all enemies to attack the user and exerts follow. Now has the base duration. Buff now grants added attack damage equal to 3% of the damage in your main hand per 5 power up to a maximum of 20%. So if you had 2 rare mobs, you'd do 20% added attack damage. Counts both allies and enemies. Inserted attacks deal 5% more damage per affected ally. Now grants increase AoE. Enduring Cry now taunts enemies, gives a buff. Life regen. It grants endurance charges. Yeah. You get physical damage reduction and to all resist per endurance charge. And it's life regen up to, you get 2000 life regen a second. Okay. Thunder now slams the ground, creating a slow wave of churning terrain that damages enemy. A slow wave. That's definitely changed. Enemies hit by the wave will release a damaging shockwave in the area around them. So this is like Thunder has now been, you don't need Herald of Ash anymore. Using the skill turn again will stop the previous wave. The wave creates 5 areas and cannot stop before creating 2 areas. There is a delay between areas the wave creates. The gem gains reduced delay between areas as it levels up to 25% reduced delay. The wave causes a shockwave plus 2 radius for each area. 40% less damage. More AoE as it levels. Tectonic Slam. No longer has a chance to consume. Wait, what? I thought this was the main gimmick of the skill. What it does now is it consumes it every 3rd time. And it gives you more AoE and chance for more fissures per endurance charge. The spread of fissures has been partially normalized, ensuring both sides of the main fissure will get at least one branching fissure. Now deals base damage and has added damage effectiveness. Skill balance mana cost. Skills whose costs are reduced to 0 are now shown to have a mana cost of 0 to differentiate them from skills which do not have mana cost. Okay. Brands have had their detached durations reduced, and these durations are no longer refreshed by brand recall. New brand playstyles are supported throughout the passive tree, keystones, and supported gems. Okay, so they've kind of nerfed brands, haven't they? When an enemy dies while branded, the brand will return to its original position wherever it appeared in the first cast. A number of existing skills are now tagged as slam skills, which determines whether or not they're affected by supports. Totems made improvements to totem AI for skills that have some sort of prerequisite for use, such as blades for blade blast, or corpses for detonate deaths. Made improvements to totem AI, huh? Arcane Cloak now has a mana cost of 0 rather than no mana cost. Arctic Breath, Creeping Frost. There was an error which caused Creeping Frost to not correctly inherit damage penalties from gems such as GMP. We've fixed this. It took a couple of years, but they finally fixed it. Now deals damage. So less damage and just a 10 more damage over time. Armageddon Brand now activates faster and does more damage. Yeah, so they've buffed the actual gems, but they've nerfed the play style, I guess. Yeah, they've buffed it and sort of nerfed it at the same time. Even the AoE has been buffed. It's crazy. Ball Lightning now does more damage. Costs less mana, but the damage effectiveness has been lowered. Bear Trap's still beast. Body Swap improved the targeting behavior for triggered body swap when nothing was targeted. Now prioritize corpses if there are any near your location. Brand Recall no longer refreshes the duration of Recall Brand. It now spends 20% of each Recall's brand mana cost to activate them when they are recalled. It now has a longer cooldown, but it has an increased cooldown recovery speed. It grants it by gem level. Cyclone no longer makes you immune to stun. I didn't know it had that ability. Dual Strike is just a bit better. Earthquake Aftershocks no longer have attack physical damage. Aftershocks now deal more damage with hits and elements. It can be used while unarmed. Blast radius is now less. Fireball no longer has added damage effectiveness of 240%. No longer gains additional explosion radius as it levels. Now gains additional explosion radius based on the distance the projectile has traveled to plus a 9 level 20. Wow, that's pretty cool. And it gains projectile speed per quality. Firestorm got a big buff, that's nice. Big buff. Reason Pulse got a buff. Frostbolt got a buff. Ground Slam no longer has added attack physical damage. It does way more damage. It's no longer tagged as a physical gem. Herald of Purity. Which one was this one? No longer grants added physical damage with spells and attacks. Now grants 9% more physical damage up to 12%. Herald of Thunder no longer has a cooldown on the storm. Now favors striking enemy that have been struck fewer times. And it deals just a little bit more, just a little bit less damage. It has damage effectiveness. Okay, so it deals less damage, but the support gems will buff it a little bit more. Ice Crash now no longer has added core damage, it converts it. And the base damage has been increased. But it does less damage now. Ice Trap has been buffed. Infernal Blow has been buffed by 10%. Lightning Trap now has been buffed. Spire Trap has been nerfed. Magma Orb now has added damage effectiveness of 185%. That's crazy. That's crazy heaps. Chains a lot more. It does heaps more damage. The Magma Orb. And it gains a radius now? That Magma Orb is crazy. Molten Strike has been buffed by a little bit, at the end anyway. Orb of Storms now has added damage effectiveness. An area which causes Orb of Storms strike frequency to benefit doubly from increased cast speed was fixed, which has affected the balance of the skill, particularly for high cast speed builds. Perforate now deals base damage and has added damage effectiveness from 5%, so it's been nerfed a little bit. It had no added, previously had no added damage, so it's okay. It now creates another spike. 2 additional spikes if you change stance. You do a little bit less damage. Is more area of effect while in sand stance. Purifying Flame has had its damage effectiveness increased. Stormbrand has more crit but less damage effectiveness. It's had its activation time increased. Now it has a detached duration of 6 seconds. I don't know what that means, but it's gone down. It's gone down almost 50%. Summon Holy Relic has had its crit strike. It's got a base chance now, where it didn't have any. Static Strike now deals base damage and has an added damage effectiveness of 110. It's been lowered a little bit, but the base duration has been lowered. Wow, Static Strike is it's crashed, isn't it? No longer causes beams that deal less damage while stationary. Beams now deal 40% less damage at all levels. No longer creates a stacking buff. And no longer gains grenades. No longer gains increased beam frequency. Beams now hit enemies quicker. Wave of Conviction has had a damage effectiveness increase, while Earthquake is down to yeah, Static Strike got way worse. Down 25%. The base attack speed, ooh. I mean, granted it's a vile skill, but 25% attack speed is a lot. The damage effectiveness is up though. Fireball has had the damage effectiveness increase. No longer additional radius from the gem levels. It gains it from the distance. Projectile speed from the quality. Ground slam. We've gone through these. It's just the same as the actual skills. Var Molten Shell now grants armor. Grants way less armor. but it grants 20% more armor. Okay, causes damage taken from the buff. So 35% is taken from the buff, as opposed to 80% at all levels. I mean, these molten shell, I mean, it's kind of a, if you can fit it in there, I suppose, but it just didn't seem like everyone was using molten shell, so I don't know where these changes are coming from. Now removes and is removed by any other guard skill. The Archmage support now gains lightning damage equal to 70% of the mana cost, unchanged. It's been lowered, so Archmage has been lowered. Shockwave support now gains additional uses up to 4, and the base damage has been increased. Slower projectiles now have 20% less speed. Oh, okay, so projectiles are no longer slow. Passive tree balance. We've wanted to add support for mechanics that we've been added recently, i.e. Rage. This is like 2 leagues ago, man. Unleash, corpse manipulation, war cries, heralds, banners. Dudes, it's a bit late, man. You brought out these skills ages ago. Many passive skill clustered offers the same thing as other clusters, with the only differences being the location. Okay, yeah. In this patch, we've endeavored to give each cluster its own identity and function. This is good. This is good. It leads me to believe they actually looked at the passive tree. Timeless dual keystone passives have become a popular feature for many builds, but they are prohibitively difficult to acquire, especially without trade. We've moved some of the most build-defining keystones out of the timeless jewels and into the tree itself. These keystones have been added to the tree. The Agnostic, Glancing Blows, Supreme Ego, Wind Dancer, and Eternal Youthful. I don't know what any of those are, so if you recognize them, then whatever. We've also added new keystones as part Impaler, Imbalance Guard, Call to Arms. Also wanted to reduce the power in some clusters that were overly efficient and increase the ones that were able. Yeah, cool. I'm down for balance, you know. However you implement it, that remains to be seen, but I'm down for balance, yeah. Due to the volume of the, okay, you can check out the new tree for yourself here. Oh, it's a download. Corpse Pact now has an upper limit on increase 0%. Chieftain Tafoa or strength is moved and is no longer a prerequisite to Valokor Storm's Embrace. It has been redesigned, which now gives level 20 Tahoa's chosen skill, which is triggered when you use a slam, creating an image which mirrors your slam. Okay, that's kind of cool. That's like a major clear speed buff right there. A new small passive life regen AoE, whatever. More damage endurance charge. It no longer grants more damage per endurance charge. Instead, it grants more damage for 8 seconds when you lose or consume an endurance charge. Ooh, okay. Sort of changes things. Small passive has chance to gain endurance charge on kill. Warbringer has been redesigned. It causes Warcries to grant 5 rage per 5 power if you have at least 25 rage, and causes him to sacrifice 25 rage if you have at least 25 rage. It also causes exerted attacks to do 50% more damage if a Warcry sacrificed rage recently. The small passive leading to Warbringer no longer grants increased Warcry duration, it grants Warcry speed. So Warcries are no longer instant. Sign of Purpose has it now causes brands to have more activation frequency. Brand Recall has cooldown recovery speed. 11th is, so we got Earthquake duration is no longer a helm enchant. Charge Slam chance. The cry effects have been, instead of the ones that granted buff effect, now grant increased buff effect. Way less. Way less buff effect. Instead of increased effect on enduring cry, you now get cooldown reduction. Abyssal Cry gets cooldown reduction. Abyssal Cry gets more damage. Abyssal Cry damage now instead grant increase Infernal Cry damage. I think that's just a name change in that one. Essence of Hysteria on boots will now drop Burning Ground every 10 seconds from 25. A new oil, Indigo Oil. Okay. 13 new ring anointments. Okay. Because I was a bit surprised on the lack of, decent ring anoints. So, I mean, yeah, we're 2 leagues too late, but interesting. The removal of notable passive skills. Some existing anointing amulets may now have new notables on them. Oh, so interesting. So if you had a battle cry anoint, you've got this one. Those with words of glory now have natural authority, so I think these are the new ones. Added new Elder Slayer influence modifiers. Several slots. I think these are the glowing rares, glowing armor things that drop armor and weapons. The Hunter influenced ring modifier that grants faster energy shell recharge is now instead found on Redeemer influence rings. So it's like a suffix prefix change. Existing items with this modifier are unaffected. Two-handed weapons. We've now reviewed all two-handed base types and adjusted their damage, speed, and implicits. Izomite staff is at a buff. The crit chance has been buffed on all Izomite Maelstrom and Judgment staffs. Morningstar, which is probably my favorite two-handed mace. Got a lot more AoE. Solar Maul has more AoE. Karuri Maul now does more stun duration. Colossus Mallet hasn't really changed much. Pile Driver Hasn't changed much. I mean, 0.05 of a second. Okay. Meat Grinder. Implicit now grants 5% chance to deal double damage with hits from this weapon. Oh. Interesting. Oh no, it's Corona Maul. That's my favorite one, I think. Huge amounts of AoE changes. That's crazy. Some attack speed changes. 20% damage over time multiplier for bleeding. The Sundering X. While X now gives 25% chance to maim on hit. That's crazy. These are crazy implicits, man. The Despot X has been got a 0.1 attack speed. What X got to 2-handed swords. Global accuracy has been reduced. Attack speed has kind of gone up. Crit chance on the Exquisite Blade is now increased, but it gives less multi. Cluster Jewel rebalance. Many balance changes have been made to passive skills granted by Cluster Jewels. This affects all existing Cluster Jewels with these passives automatically. The following notables have been affected. Bunch of them. Hexbreaker, Evil Eye, Forbidden Words, Remarkable, Grand Design, Expert Sabotage, Vicious Bite, Holy Conquest, Flexible Sentry, Hulking Corpses, Cold-Blooded, Killer, Wrapped in Flame, Fire Attunement, Hibernator, Capacitor, Replenishing Presence, Anti-Venom, Non-Flammable, Anti-Freeze, Insulated, Readiness, Dragon Hunter, Conservation of Energy, Springback, Stubborn, Student, Liquid Inspiration, Adrenaline, Peace amidst chaos, heraldry, disciplines, pure agony, purposeful, harbinger, endbringer, master of fear, victim maker, circling oblivion, war, wicked Paul, drive the destruction, thermophage, numbing elixir, spiked concoction, sleepless sentries chipped away, precise retaliation, skullbreaker, precise commander, savage response, precise focus, self-fulfilling prophecy, surprise sabotage, mob mentality, cry wolf, haunting shout, lead by example, provocateur, warning call, rattling below, and others. Added several new curse and aura centric notables. Unique item balance, 200 weapons. Due to the damage increases, we've adjusted the number of 200 weapons uniques. You can just get it by using a divine orb. Calm's primacy now has less physical damage. Dancing Dervish, less physical damage. All of these have less physical damage. Moroi, no Kitava's Feast can make a Void Forge, Doom Sower, Hondo's Pride, Terminus Est, St. Victor's Metal. Series Disfavor now has 205, 250 added physical damage. Wow, they've nerfed its series Disfavor. And Hegemonies. Other unique items: Envy, granted by United in Dream. Alon's Usurping, and the Elder Mod suffix now grants 75% more added chaos damage to attacks and skills. Its radius has been increased by 14 units to match other similar aura skills. 14% more added chaos damage. More added chaos damage or 75? I don't know. So if you've got like 1 added chaos damage, it gives 1.75. Interesting. New keystones have been added to replace the 5 now that are available on the... Okay, so we get some new keystones. No longer triggers Abyssal Cry on hit. No longer causes you to gain Iron Reflex. Apip's Rage. Eric's Spite. Bitter Dream. No longer supports Soccer Gems with a level 1 mana leech. It now supports them with Bone Chill. I wonder what Bone Chill is. Brain Rattler now has more chance to shock. And shocks enemies as though dealing 300% more damage. No longer has chance to cause enemies to flee. Dude, Brain Rattler is the shit. Throwing up Flag, Circle of Fear, Crown of the Tyrant. The Dark Seer now causes Blind to not affect your chance to hit. Rather than preventing Blind, this affects. Dwerdry's Malevolence no longer grant plus 50 to mana cost. Instead, they will grant increased seal gain frequency. I don't know what that means. Fervid Mind no longer increases mana cost. Grants spell damage. Oh wait, what? Which one of these is like that ring no one ever used? Mark of the Recombinant minions now have increased movement speed. Some rooting spirits no longer refresh the duration. Instead, they deal fire damage. Oh, its pen has behavior around animation cancelling. Breach of the Council. The Scourge. Now, new copies of this item no longer have chance to trigger someone's pitch, but now causes increase and reductions to also affect you at 100% of their value. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Starforge has been nerfed. Troll Timber Spire now causes both you and your totems to regenerate their life per second. Where was I at? Monster changes. No longer triggers Abyssal Cry on hit. And you say nobody hits anybody anyway? This is James I'm talking to. Anyway, what was it? Spectral shield it. Oh crap, I can't make this go away. There we go. Monster changes. You do a number of changes making it easier to reliably stun through enemies. Many bosses are now immune to stun. They're immune to stun while stunned. Okay, because this is pretty good, because there would often be chances where you would stun a boss out of his next phase, namely Azaro. The base distance is now based off the enemy size. Smaller enemies are knocked further back. The man tracker monster in Hunter, I think that's the poison guy, now spread their spit attacks out rather than all spitting at once. It is now correctly categorized as an attack and will be mitigated as such. Monsters which deal extra chaos damage. Monsters which deal extra chaos damage now say so beneath their nameplate. Didn't they already do that? When you run into a chaos breach, I'm pretty sure you expect them to do chaos damage. No, this does not change the balance of these monsters. Abyss changes. The area transition to an abyssal depth area now becomes interactable more quickly after appearing. Monsters, crystals, and other boss encounter elements are now destroyed when Amanamu is defeated. Okay. Betrayal changes. Elrion's unholy relics and sentinel minions now die when Elrion is defeated. Unholy relics summoned by Immortal Syndicate members who possess Boo's bottle now disappear when that member is defeated. Ground effects created by Syndicate memories will disappear when this Syndicate is defeated. You can now quick move items between your inventory and various Betrayal safe house benches. Atlas and map changes. Map tiers and locations have been shuffled, though the in locations for maps has not been changed. Most maps are now initially found at a different tier. Unique maps have not moved or changed tiers. Improved the responsiveness of cirrus storms to phase transitions. Improved the layouts, the spider layer map to minimize backtracking. Zana can now do Legion missions. Zana League mods available. Fortune favors the brave, Anarchy, Breach, Ambush, Negus, Harbinger, Metamorph, Legion. UI improvements. Oil cost is now revealed by holding Alt. Map icons in the Stash tab will now display the region they are in. Hover over. The Stash tab list no longer closes after you select a tab. That's the one with this, you click on the arrow and it comes down, right? Added the ability to do hide, remove only stash tabs. Bug fixes. Quest free rewards. Enduring Cry and Intimidating Cry after Brutus. And it can be purchased by Templar Time. Earth Shatter is now offered to the Duelist and the Marauder after Merveil. Brand after Siren, you get Witch and Templar get Wintertide brand. Storm brand is now you get it as a reward choice from Merveil. Brand recall is now offered to the Witch for completing Chamber of Sins. Ancestral Cry and Seismic Cry are now offered to Marauder Duels after completing Chamber of Sins. Infernal Cry and General's Cry after Crematorium. Rallying Cry is now offered the crematorium to duelist. Penance brand is offered to the Witch and the Templar for completing Gravicious. Someone can buy it. Armageddon brand is now offered by Witch for completed Gravicious. Swift brand support is now offered to Witch and Templar for completing Golden Pages. Shadow and Sign can buy it. Arcanist brand is offered to the Witch and Templar for completing Malachi and can be purchased by Shadow and Sign. Fist of War support for Malachi completion is offered to the Marauder, the Duelist, and the Templar and can be bought by the Silent. PvP changes product class. Mine now deals 30% less damage against players. Wintertide brand has an attack time override. Time minus override of 0.2 seconds. Penance brand now deals 70% less damage against players. Skills triggered by Arcanist brand deals 70% less with Blessed. Rebirth is now disabled in PvP areas. Fixed a bug where the Thundershock notable caused all hits against shocked enemies to knock those enemies back rather than just the critical hits. Fixed a bug where items with a fixed number of sockets could have the number of sockets reduced to the hideout craft, but not increased. Now the number of sockets can no longer be affected by a crafting bench. Orb of Storm's hit frequency has been, the doubly benefit has been fixed. Betrayal members on a transportation job were teleporting too frequently. Yes, they were. I do not like teleportation. Fix the bugs where brands hovered above Kitava's head and typically off screen. Where my bug fixes? Darkness Enthorned now increases the effect of socketed jewels. Is this a... It's a unique Stygian... Oh, I remember this. It now does 75% instead of 50%. Plus 10 to all res. 2 jewels each. That's 20%. 20 to all res. Increase that by 75% is 35. So it's 35 to all res. And then 60 life. 75. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty decent. That's a pretty decent belt. I wonder how much that belt's gonna cost. I wonder how frequently it's gonna drop. That's crazy though. Everyone's just gonna want a Darkness Enthroned. Arcane Capacitor notable to not correctly update after the effects of Arcane Surge as mana was spent. Fixed the bug which prevented mana reserved by mines to not correctly update with increases and reductions to mana reservation. Fixed the bug where elemental hit no longer increases its AoE when hitting enemies affected by Scorch, Brittle, or Sap. Fixed the bug where heraldry notable would continue to affect heralds even after the jewel was removed. What the frick? Due to some changes in how terrain is generated, a number of hideout templates became invalidated. They should now work. Withering Step effect lost an eye. It had no effect on the accuracy as far as we know. Okay. Fix the bug which caused the many-faced totem in the field's map boss room to become transparent if slain while under the effects of delirium. Fix the bug which made some of the cliffs darker than they should have been. Rayclast is dark, just not like that. It's not that dark. Celestial Leap Slam cosmetic would make your limbs disappear. Fix the typo in Stormbind. Fix the bug where Cassia would appear in the Twilight Temple unique map. Where Cassia could appear. Fix several modifiers that didn't have names. Fix the bug where some non-monsters, such as Nemesis, mod lightning clones, could get delirium modifiers. Several metaphor skills that were using the wrong visual effects caused the AoE of lightning whip used by several monsters to get way too big. Fix the bug which caused the skill tooltip of the void shot skill to change. Fix the bug where totems played both the old and the new versions of barrage arrow launch effect at once. Fix the bug which caused particles created by the Orion body armor to linger. Fix the bug where lightning wings didn't scale with the player. Interaction between steel skin and several glow cosmetics. A number of other wonky microtransaction interactions. Fix the bug where one of the new Valstad areas didn't look like a Valstad area. Fixed an instance crash related to summon Phantasm. Fixed the bug with the barrage effect used by a mine faced the wrong direction. Glacial Cascade mines wouldn't target Trail Fortress doors. These fortress doors, man. Hang on a second. Okay. Rigwell's Curse didn't give additional critical strike chance to offhand attacks while you have Hollow Palm technique. Fix the clash related to Glorious Vanity. Dude, we're so close. Fix the quest state case that could prevent progress on the Atlas. Fixed an erroneous error which said your map tier was too low to produce an Elder Slayer encounter when it wasn't. After failing to complete an Atlas Citadel, would remain the influence visual effect on the Atlas but remove the progress bar when the influence should have just be as well. Fix an influence clash related to Frostbolt. Instant crash. Fix the bug where Leash of Oblation's multiple offering effect would allow multiple offerings to persist if they were removed after the offerings were cast. Fix a bug where binding brand recall to the left mouse button and then moving around could potentially have you kicked out for performing too many actions. Fixed an instant crash related to projectiles and kineticism. Fixed the bug where looting an item while in a party with loot allocation set required an extra click if the allocation changed while the cursor was held over the item. Fixed the bug which could cause brands to occasionally not be recalled by brand recall. Whoa. It's like a major bug right there. Fixed the bug where skills with a cooldown shared by other skills and buff duration would become unusable in that instance if the gem was removed while the buff was active. Fixed a bug which caused brands to visibly linger indefinitely. Fixed a bug where separate gems, the same skill with a cooldown, would not be on cooldown if they were socketed while the other skill gem was on cooldown. So you could like constantly switch out gems. It's pretty exploitative. Fixed above where molten shell's effect would linger indefinitely if the skill gem were replaced by Val molten shell. Fixed weird grandmaster behavior related to changes made to Cyclone. Fixed a bug where scout minions from a scout tower that behaved as if they had their original range. If you had a blight ring anointed that increased their range. Fixed the number of cases where monster skills could potentially hit players that were not in the line of sight. Oh, that's a big one. Fixed the bug where Arcane Cloak could consume energy shield or life instead of mana as part of its extra spending. Fixed the bug where Celestial Leap Slam and Dash would cause rain and breach type specific effects. Fixed several bugs where skills were misbehaving when at 9 stacks of intensify. Fixed the bug which caused auto spectate and PvP to stop working. Fixed the bug with the effects of Lavagna's spirit would persist for as long as you had an active enduring mana flask. Fixed the bug where melee elemental hit attacks would apply to relevant element. The element hit bonus would increase the AoE despite the element not being applied. Fixed the bug which caused the trial on the Harlequin Leap Slam cosmetic trail to vanish. Fixed the appearance of many items on Animate Guardians. Fixed the bug where leaving a map where Alva was present for an extended period of time could prevent you from doing any remaining incursions when you entered. Fixed the bug where very rarely party members would create a new instance of your hideout when using the visit hideout button, and would thus close any open portals in the existing hideout areas. Okay. Well, that was it for the harvest patch notes. I don't know, after reading I might need some time to contemplate what I just read. Yeah, I'm ready for the new league on Saturday. And if you liked it, like the video, I've really appreciated it. Only if you liked it though. And a sub would, I mean, I don't want to beg for subs, but please. Lol. Anyway, I'll see you around. Stay sane.